And that's the countercultural piece that the society doesn't say, and sometimes the church doesn't say. That's hugely important to communicate to people. A lot of what I hear is, I don't feel close to God, so therefore I must do more. And I say, no, you must do less. Your doing is your problem. You have to learn how to be a person without any sound, without any motion, without any activity, and that God is interested in my heart. So to get to my heart, then I have to be willing to be still and listen and be open. And a lot of what we do is just giving people the permission and the encouragement when everything else around them is saying that that's not valuable or necessary, that in fact it is. And that's what Christianity has said for 2,000 years. But it's what Jesus said. The essence of what Jesus is saying in the Gospels is not that we need to do more moral things, not that we need to become more active, but that we need to wake up. That's the problem. That we're numbed into sleep by a deluge of activity and stuff and movement and busyness. And Jesus says over and over and over again, you think that you're awake, but you're actually asleep. Because you don't know how to see what's going on around you. And you hear that next Sunday in the gospel for the first Sunday of Advent. Why don't you, and Jesus is saying exactly that. Open your eyes and look around you. What's going on in the world? What's going on in your heart? And that's I think, a very monastic approach to life. A very monastic questions that Jesus is raising, because the two things are intrinsically connected. If I don't have the time and space to get in touch with my heart, then I won't be able to see Christ in the other person. I won't be able to see God's activity in the world. And if I just simply focus on service and alleviating problems and being effective and successful, then I miss it. That's just one. It's one part of it, but it has to have the internal piece to go along with it.
It's an irony in that too.
Right.
Some of the wealthiest people I know, in worldly terms, have approached and developed deep friendships with Christian or Bill Sibley or Brian Youngward, all or Jim Kester or whatever monastic community or whatever community of nuns. But these are people who are used to using other people, used to seeing other people as human resources, used to making of other people a tactic. And yet when it comes to spiritual things, they approach people who cannot be used, develop friendships with people who are not in that game. You know what I mean?
That's the beginning of spiritual awakening, when you can do that. You can see the person simply as a beloved being made by God, and not for their value or their use or their attractiveness or what you can get out of them or what they can do for you. That is the essence of the Christian life. Jesus saw every person not for what they could do for him or how he could use them, but for the essence, the preciousness of their own life. That's the bottom line, I think. That's how do we really see each other, and if I can hear God saying to me, I love you just because of your existence, just because of the person that you are. That God delights in that. God celebrates that. God likes me the way that God made me. God intended me to have the weird personality that I do, or some of the strange things that I do, and that that is precious and valuable. And I'm the one, through my own selfishness, that can distort that and to believe that I can possess it, but it only hurts me. And it never mars the essence of that image. It just distorts my own connection to it.
Guys, there's a place that the Roman Catholic Church built in Anderson Lake, outside of Espanola. This is like north of Manitoulin Island, okay, on the mainland. And the reason the Roman Catholic Church built this place was they were trying to develop native ministries. By that, I mean they are very structured, and you are either a deacon, priest, bishop, or layperson. And that's, in the Roman Catholic Church, that's your life. Okay? And they built this place at Anderson Lake because they were trying to get native people to become priests. Because they thought they needed native priests to minister to native people. And they were onto something there. There was a wisdom in that. People from that culture who understood that culture. But you know what would happen over and over again? Guys would come to this place for priestly formation at Anderson Lake. And they would come in as baptized lay people, and then they would learn some things, and then their giftedness would come out of them, and so they would be ordained to deacons. They would become deacons, to the diaconate. And then what would happen is then they would learn some more things, and they would develop some more skills, and their gifts for ministry would come out of them more. And then what would happen is the bishop would say, "You're great. You're ready to go out. You're ready to help a congregation. I need you to be priested." And then you know what would happen? You know the answer already. Those guys would run away. Why? Why would they run away at that? Come on, Julian, give it a shot.
I don't know.
The idea of no more girls ever for the rest of their lives was such a break with how they understood themselves. And Anderson Lake is still there, but it's more of a retreat center now. People come to, they still run a program, and they're still trying to foster and enable native ministries, but they couldn't get past the stuff that was so deep in the culture, that the idea of celibacy was they just had a terrible success rate at creating priests. And out of our, born in Houston, Texas, I was born in Windsor, Ontario, but out of our North American culture, which comes from European culture, there's always been a place for the celibate. As far back as any of us can remember, even back to Druid times. How do vows address culture when culture is so strong?
A vow means there's something bigger than me. That's very basic. And the culture says, there's something bigger than me? I don't like that. I'm the center of the universe. I do what I want. And a vow, monastic life in general, but a vow in particular is a radically countercultural, rebellious thing. It's a screaming no to that. That what we're fundamentally saying is that the world does not work the way you think it does. It's really not. And if you pursue what you construct for yourself based merely on looking good, feeling good, and being in control, then that's all you'll ever have. Will be nothing more for you, and you'll be just sort of left to stew in the despair of that, because it doesn't really satisfy. If the idea is that we pursue happiness and fulfillment and meaning, and we'd probably all say that's what we want. We want friends to love us, we want family, we want meaningful work, and we want to have creative things. But if there is no, if it's still all about my own personal fulfillment, it may feel good short term, but it won't ultimately satisfy the deeper hunger of your soul, which is to connect with God, which is to find identity the way that God has created us to have identity, which is through a relationship with God, through a relationship with our neighbor.
And people do have this relationship with God in their job, right? It's not like you have to. It's not mutual exclusive. Again, I mean, people are in the job because they want to make a contribution, and the salary is a byproduct of that. And the fact that they do dress well is a byproduct that they receive a salary, a compensation to survive. Right? So, I mean, my question is, I wonder how many of these wealthy people are actually just driven by money, but not a deeper fulfillment in their work. Because they need to be in the job in order to make the contribution that they want to make.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So then the next question is, what is the kind of, I mean, everyone has their own calling, right? One might have a monastery calling, one might have a worldly calling, whatever. So it's basically everyone following their own destiny.
Yeah, what's common to all of us in the church is that we're called to follow Christ, and then the expression of that in our vocation is not this, as you said, it's not I follow Christ over here and then I work at this job. It's the struggle of how do I live as a Christian doing this job, doing it with integrity and ethics and respect, kinds of values that are important, with excellence and really with care. That's Christian as well. And that is not, you're not simply driven by getting ahead or making more money or getting the top spot or something like that. That there's more of a sense of service and giving and doing something